Dragon Ball Z, Broly can be considered one of the best villains of the franchise, while some consider him to be one of the worst. Here is why I consider him to be one of the best of the franchise. First off, Broly is one of the few masculine villains of the series. When villains come to mind, you think of Frieza, an androgynous lizard who was originally voiced by a woman, Cell, an overly melodramatic insect, or Majin Buu, a pink blob who looks like he could be wearing a diaper. And the characters that are somewhat masculine, like Spopovich and Hercule, Mr. Satan if you want to call him, they're typically the butt of jokes and portrayed as cowardly and weak. At the beginning of the series, there were masculine villains such as the Saiyans, Raditz, Nappa, and Vegeta. But you don't really get another masculine villain until the end of the series in Deborah, who is turned into a cookie, sent to heaven, becomes a good guy, wears flowers on his head, and speaks of how love is better than fighting. So if a person is left with wanting a masculine villain, you could say Broly fills that role. The most obvious reason of why Broly is a favorite amongst Dragon Ball Z fans is his unique appearance. Toriyama typically follows the mold of the smaller the character, the stronger they are, such as Frieza's final form is his smallest and his strongest form. You also have Kid Buu being the final form of Majin Buu. Another example is of Nappa. Despite the fact that he is taller and more muscular looking than Vegeta, he is actually a submissive character to Vegeta. Broly's appearance also stands out as he goes shirtless and he wears white pants with a clashing red sash going across his waist. He wears gold jewelry and gold boots. Another thing I find great about Broly is the action sequences in his movies. And especially considering the fact that they are longer running than the other movies, they have more time to build into those scenes. The great action sequences contribute to the fact why Broly is present in almost now in every single Dragon Ball Z video game, because he is one of the few characters to have a unique moveset that does not involve a variation of the Kamehameha. Broly's massive physique gives him a different fighting style than many of the other characters. With him being so big, he almost has to fight more like a wrestler, which involves grabbing, tackling, and when he does his beam attacks, he more so throws them, which makes his techniques more dynamic than the standard character who stands still and fires a blast from their hand. Similar physiques include Bojack and Super Android 13, though neither of them are able to use their size to their advantage like Broly was able to do. The most you can say about Bojack was he was able to do a bear hug against Teen Gohan, but Teen Gohan, when he finally went Super Saiyan 2, easily overwhelmed them. Besides his action sequences, Broly is also known for his iconic transformation sequence. As stated earlier, since Broly the Legendary Super Saiyan has a longer running time, they were allotted the time to make Broly's transformation take longer, which in turn makes his transformation seem a lot more powerful. You can actually see Broly visibly doing more damage in his attacks once he's in his new form. Some of the other transformations in the other movies, they do it a lot more casual, and thus in turn, you cannot tell that they are any more powerful than in their previous form, which this includes Bojack. For those who have never seen the Bojack movie, he literally in the middle of a fight changes into his new form, but it's not like he was struggling in the middle of the battle, so the transformation almost seemed pointless. Even amongst the other Saiyans, Broly's transformation is unique. The crown that concealed his power is destroyed. His eyes glow green, the color of his energy. His skin slowly starts to tear, releasing a massive amount of energy, destroying his body. And what is now revealed is a much more muscular, angry form of his self. One of the most common complaints about Broly is that he doesn't have a good backstory, and that when he was a baby he was subjected to the cries of Goku, which messed him up. Which I don't see why that is a bad backstory, because it is frankly better than most of the other characters' backstories in this series. Because it is far better than most of the other movie villains, and I might even be willing to say that it's not like Frieza has that great of a backstory, and he's one of the most promoted characters of the franchise. With Frieza, we never even get a rational explanation on why he is so strong, and we never learn any more about his homeworld. The only other member of his race that we even see is his own father, and he doesn't get all that much screen time either. So, how can we know why Frieza became a destructive tyrant in the series? And if one tries to say that it's just his nature, then you can just easily respond, well, it is just Broly's nature on why he is that way. With Broly's backstory, you can at least discern that he was a victim for all of his life. His own race tried to have him murdered because he was so much stronger than them. His own father tried to control his strengths and use him as a tool. So with a past like that, it can totally be rationalized why Broly has a destructive nature also. Other complaints about Broly is that he is one-dimensional, and all he ever says is Kakarot, which may be true in the second movie, but it is not true in the first movie. One line that Broly says that shows that he is not a one-dimensional character is, when he is fighting Piccolo, he refers to himself as a true freak, which shows that he is self-aware of who he is, and he knows that he is more powerful than other characters. Another scene with good dialogue from the first movie is when Broly encounters his father's slaves. They are staring up at the night sky, looking at their own home planet that they were taken from. Broly comments how it is a silly planet, and how they see it as a sign of hope for them. Broly hurls a blast at them, but at the last second it flies up, and it hits their home planet. This scene also shows the sadistic nature of Broly. Before I get on to my final point, I'm going to review what I said earlier. Broly is a unique character that fills a specific niche that was not present in the original series, which said niche would be popular amongst fans of anime and manga who like fighting series and fighting in video games. And now, on to my final point. The idea of Super Saiyan was first introduced as a legend passed down through the generations that many of the other characters of the series mocked. So when Goku finally accomplished this, he attained the unattainable. The transformation included golden hair, and gold was typically the color used to represent the gods in most mythologies. And the eyes were blue, which were the same color as the Buddha in Buddhist mythology, and it's also a color used to note for wisdom, which almost made the transformation more metaphysical rather than biological, as it only came out in times of dire need. Super Saiyan was beyond any training, and it was used to beat the unbeatable opponent, to achieve what was unachievable. And then, in the Android Saga, the godly transformation crashed to Earth. What was supposed to occur every 1,000 years now occurred in many other characters, two of them being teenage half-Saiyans. And what finally brought down the deity, whose appearance could alter the weather and shake the earth? A mere android, who is actually just a human with simple body modifications. The unbeatable 1,000-year legend was reduced to nothing more than a minor power-up, to an invention of mankind. And it goes on. Depending on what you consider canon, it receives 2 or 3 more upgrades, plus a multitude of more forms. It is also achieved by young children under the age of 10. And in the newest iteration, characters master it and its upgrade in less than an hour, and reveal it was nothing more than just a tingle in the back. And now, getting back on topic. Broly is a movie character, so when everyone first found out about him, it was at a different point. Some people got into him through Budokai 3, and others saw him in the first movie. And by whatever point you discovered Broly, the idea of Super Saiyan at that point had probably been drugged through the mud. To me, Broly brought out what was great about Super Saiyan from the past, that had been erased after the Goku vs. Frieza fight on Namek. Broly was a special type of Saiyan, whose form could not be attained by anyone with a small fraction of Saiyan DNA. His legendary Super Saiyan transformation cannot be tiered like the other levels of Super Saiyan, as in, Super Saiyan 2 always beats Super Saiyan 1, Super Saiyan 3 always beats Super Saiyan 2, or even characters like Cell always beating Frieza, minus Super of course. Future Trunks achieved Super Saiyan Grade 3, which also possessed huge muscles, but they restricted his movements. Broly, despite having even bigger muscles, was not limited to the same restrictions as future Trunks. As I stated earlier, Super Saiyan was originally supposed to be limitless and almost divine, but by this point, everyone's had become restricted, limited, and completely devalued. Legendary Super Saiyan, only possessed by Broly, broke all those new restrictions set upon the other Super Saiyans. Legendary Super Saiyan also brought back the unbeatable nature that was originally supposed to be. Legendary Super Saiyan brought back the divinity in Super Saiyan. Legendary Super Saiyan, towering over all the other Super Saiyans. Wearing gold jewelry, Broly looked like a king, or even mistaken for a Super Saiyan god. Thank you for watching my video. This is the first one I've ever uploaded to YouTube, so it's definitely going to be rough around the edges. Consider subscribing so maybe you can see some more of my videos which I plan on making in the future. Hopefully they'll be better than this one.